I mean, the fact that it's got to 10 million views now is quite an achievement. And did I expect that? Maybe I didn't. But I'm certainly glad that it's got that far.
It's been really nice to revisit this track and read some of the comments on YouTube and realise how much it's touched people. And it's the reason why we did it in the first place, and actually why we got into music in the first place.
There's the whole saying, isn't there, that every great guitarist has a ballad track. You know, Jeff Beck, you know, Clapton, all these guys all had amazing ballads.
When you think back to the 80s, all the amazing melodic players out there, you think of their guitar ballads. So those just keep ringing true today.
The Wind That Shakes the Heart is actually a great song title, isn't it?
If I could sum this track up into one word, it would be masterful.
The Wind That Shakes the Heart. What an epic track that is.
Gotta be one of the most melodic guitar instrumentals I've ever heard.
Just an epic tune in so many words.
But yeah, it's funny when I think about it. All those years ago, sitting, having dinner and a few drinks at my house, and Andy and I were discussing guitar ballads and their importance. I seemed to think that they were important, and he was maybe, are they important? Not quite sure. Anyway, cut a long story short, I said, how about I write one for you? And he said, yeah, great. You write it, I'll play it. So the first thing I did was I contacted my friend James Graydon, who I worked with a lot.
It was a collaboration between myself and Jan Cyrka. Jan asked me if I wanted to get involved in 2014 to write an epic power ballad, to which I replied, you had me at epic. And it all started from there, really.
And we came up with a plan. And James went away for about a week. And then he sent me a backing track. Most of it actually is still just the same as it is on The Wind That Shakes the Heart right now.
It started, as I remember, with a pad sound, a sort of minor 9 chords with the ninths at the top, which I quite like. It gives a sort of an impression of a story about to unfold. So it really started from that sound.
But what happened was he sent me the track, and then I would get my guitar out, get some ideas in my head, translate them to the guitar, get the melodies down, purposely leaving some gaps in there where I knew that Andy would want to improvise and put his stamp on it.
I mean, whenever I think of something epic and large, I usually default to the Lydian mode. For those of you who are up to speed on the modes, it has a sort of triumphant feel.
We had to change a few chords because I felt that certain notes would be better here and then would be represented by a different chord. And so the backing track went backwards and forwards as the melody developed.
Technically there's a sharpened fourth, so a lot of the harmony that's derived from that mode gives a certain feeling. You would have heard it probably in John Williams scores and music of that nature. And for guitarists, you'll often associate it with chords like G over F or D over C. That's a sort of Lydian type of tonality.
I think it took maybe 2 or 3 weeks before we got a finalised version of it.
Also the B section, a rising section, sort of A minor to G over B to C, that kind of rising. Again, gives the impression that we're building up to something, which we do. Eventually we end up in a key change, I believe, at the end, and then that repeats in a similar way.
And I'd composed all the melodic sections to the song, and the structure, and I was happy with that.
He came back with this brilliant melody, just the note placements and squeezing out all the emotion, which he's so good at.
There's a middle section which was going to be completely improvised by Andy, which of course he did brilliantly. And as mentioned before, there were the gaps in between the melodies for Andy to do his bit too.
And I think at that point we thought, oh, this is actually something pretty cool, and we decided in for a penny, in for a pound. So we got the drums replaced. Then I spent some time over at Jan's studio redoing the bass, just fine-tuning what we'd done, really. We started off with broad strokes and then filled in the finer detail.
We've got real drums on it. It's Pete Riley playing drums. James Graydon playing all the keyboards. James is playing the bass as well.
I wasn't expecting it, actually, from Andy. He totally amazed me because it's a right combination of melodies and chops. So it got that balance.
Andy came over and he stayed here for a few days, actually, I think, and we went through the tune, spending ages just tweaking things, getting the expression, get every single note so it mattered. I mean, honestly, we spent so much time just on maybe a small little section just to get the phrasing so it was perfect. I mean, not that, Andy's a brilliant player and he can do things immediately, but I just wanted to milk it a little bit more than usual.
Jan's an incredible musician, super melodic, great guitar player, great dude also. And Andy's just a beast of a guitar player. Very, just has such a grasp on his instrument. You put that together and it's just a masterful piece of music.
And what I really like about Jan's sensitivity as a composer is that he picked the right person to perform it. I didn't know that Andy had something like this in him, but it brought out a side of him that I hadn't known before. He's obviously known as the most ferocious shredder out there, but this piece of music showcased a side of his that I really appreciate and that shows what a great overall musician he is.
The guitar can be such an expressive instrument when you write certain chord structures and when you place certain sounds over them. It kind of gives off this emotional response, I guess, in some people. And I think that's really, really cool. The guitar can touch someone same way a voice can without lyrics, though. It's all within the vibrato, the technique, the feel. It's everything, all those elements that really speak to the listener.
Once we got to a point where we were happy with it from start to finish, it was a case of recording it. And we recorded it over, it probably took about half a day to get the parts down as well. Strangely enough, the improvised parts, the solo section in the middle, which wasn't written, I think that was first or second take. I mean, so there you go.
My favorite part is definitely the improvised section, where as a musician, you can really create a beautiful contrast between this amazing melodic theme and the climax of the whole piece. And that's actually what makes the epic ballads great. You have a lot of freedom to really work and explore connections and contrasts between the long singing melodies and, this some more crazy virtuoso stuff.
I think my favorite section is probably the improvised section in the middle where Andy just lets rip. The melodic parts obviously are super important, of course, but I went through over and over those when I was writing it, a million times. So I've probably overheard those parts, and I just find that the section in the middle is still fresh when I hear it now. It's just the parts that I wrote took a little bit of time. And I think that might have been because I was using the whammy bar when I was recording it, and Andy doesn't use that. He just uses normal vibrato like a real person. And actually, visually, that looks so much better because I know that when I play my stuff, and I just kind of hold a note here and then use the whammy bar for the vibrato. It looks a bit boring, really, but Andy's giving it all this up and down stuff. It's much more exciting.
My favorite part of it is the main theme that repeats throughout the whole song. And for me, that melodic element is one of the key points that separates a great instrumental ballad from some random shredding over a slow backing track.
The first word that comes to mind when listening to a song like this is brilliance. The emotions and all the moving parts, it's almost like the way the song has been put together and the guitar playing on top of that and how everything coincides with creating this great ballad. I just think about brilliance.
I think sometimes playing a ballad is more complicated than playing a fast song. You have to be careful with every note to give the right intensity and focus your technique and your playing, of course, to give a life to the song.
It never gets boring, it never gets repetitive, there's not a dull moment in the track, especially with, Andy James adding all those cool little nuances like that harmonic tap at the beginning, or those really fast 30-second note guitar fills in between all the melodic sections, or when he does those like full bends, but then he does a half step extra just to get to that next note instead of jumping to it or sliding to it. I just feel like all those little things add up to really squeeze out every ounce of emotion from that melody.
think I knew it was a great tune when Andy had finished recording it. And we just listened back and it just felt like it was a winner.
I just love it. And it deserves every single view it got so far.
Hats off to Jan, James, and Andy. It's an epic track. I'm just made up that it's hit 10 million views. That's insane for a guitar channel. Just mental. So congratulations again, guys. And it was a pleasure playing that last little part for you.
So that's really fulfilling, and it's been a wonderful thing to be involved in. So congratulations, JTC.
You've got all these things, right? Great production, a beautiful melody, Andy's fat guitar tone with a ton of sustain. It's a formula for a perfect song. I'm not surprised it hit over 10 million YouTube views. Well deserved.
That guitar instrumental ballads in general spread easier outside of the guitar circles, and they can serve as an inspiration for someone to pick up the guitar. So yeah, that impact could be very powerful.
And I'm thankful for the reminder after so many years after this project was released, what is truly important in playing guitar and being a musician and sharing our art with the world out there. So
Congratulations to 10 million views. Here's to another 10 and another 10 and another 10 till we hit 1 billion. Awesome work, guys.
So, Jane, what do you reckon? Do you think our skull ring made Andy play that song a bit better?
Oh, definitely, no doubt. Imagine what it would have sounded like with 4 rings like these.
A follow-up to The Wind That Shakes the Heart? Well, maybe, I don't know. It's a difficult one to beat. Maybe we should try, or maybe we should just leave it. I don't know. I'll have a think about it. And we'll see. Maybe get the old team back together again.